9 o'clock. We are at Mount Meshugeneh Psychiatric Hospital. To the left is the psychiatric nurses station. To the right is Dr. Burnhaught's office. As the lights come out, we see Dr. Burnhaudt standing at the nurses' stations. He looks up from his notes and he turns to you, the audience. I mean, it's easily to work here. You know, it wasn't so bad. The traffic, it wasn't so bad. Anyway, Samantha had been distributing medications before I came on the unit. And I said to her, good morning, Bokatov, Samantha, how are things going? And she said to me, overall, okay, Dr. Burnhaudt. And then she asked me if I'd like some coffee. I said, no, thank you. I already had my caffeine hit this morning. Then I said, Samantha, do you remember how depressed I was when they closed the Chock-full of Nuts coffee shop down the street? She didn't remember. Did you know that this hospital, Mount Meshugeneh, was named after that coffee shop because it was always chock-full of nuts? Well, Samantha thought that I was really getting Meshugeneh now and asked if I was okay. Jesus, Sarah asked me the same question this morning. I guess I just have a lot on my mind and my cup and my back. My back hurts still. Killing me. So anyway, I asked Samantha if she had heard anything from Corey Anderson, our hospital administrator. And she said no. Then she asked me if she was supposed to hear from him. I said, no, not really. At least not yet. Perhaps. I don't know. Well, I could tell by my response that Samantha now thought I was really acting weird and my Meshugeneh cup was getting worse. I said, never mind. Then I asked her who my first patient was. And she said that there was a new admission last night at Mr. Greenberg. Apparently this was his 9th admission to the psychiatric hospitals this year. Go figure. He seems to get around a lot. And it said in his chart that he'd been diagnosed repeatedly as having paranoid schizophrenia. He didn't want to stay on his medications because he believed that some store owners were trying to poison his former customers at a bookshop. No. So, how did he get here? I've never seen this man before. Samantha told me that he had just moved to Brooklyn from Amherst, Massachusetts. So then I wondered. I said, I wondered if his being admitted 8 times in 1 year was a way for hospitals to make more money. I asked Samantha to go get Mr. Greenberg and bring him to my office. After Samantha left, I started to sing and dance. Chock-full of nuts is that heavenly coffee, heavenly coffee, heavenly coffee. I missed their coffee. Anyway, come with me to my office. Come on in. Setz da, sit down and follow along with what happened here. I'll tell you. So anyway, Samantha brought Mr. Greenberg to my office. Good morning, Mr. Greenberg. My name is Dr. Burnhaudt, and I will be your psychiatrist. Please, setz da, sit down, please. And he couldn't sit down for some reason. He just walked around my office in an agitated manner. He couldn't sit still. I asked him, I said, what's the matter with you? I said, what did you think has happened that made the judge order him here?
I'm convinced, Dr. Burnhaudt, that we have a very serious problem in this country.
No, and what is this? What is this? What's going on?
I'm afraid that we are about to be invaded by illegal aliens from outer space.
I asked, what made him think it is?
Well, I happened to be watching TV and heard one reporter talking about illegal aliens. It's clear to me that the real illegal aliens he was talking about are definitely the ones coming from outer space, not from some Mexican border.
My God, I said, this is a very serious problem. Plus, we got this other illegal virus alien as well to deal with here now, coming into our country from outer space. This pandemic and the illegal aliens from outer space.
We must build a wall quickly, Dr. Burnhaudt, before all these illegal aliens come through the ozone layer.
So how do you propose, Mr. Greenberg, we build such a wall and fund it? Seriously, the sky is limitless, and this virus, it's getting around, it's catchy, Like, I got the chills right now just thinking about it.
Yes, I know. It will be a huge expense. But perhaps NASA can contract with some MIT engineers who can design one above our ozone layer to keep these illegal aliens from entering here.
That's an interesting idea. But, Mr. Greenberg, it could take a long time. Now, I wonder if this is something that the United Nations can address. Of course, the WHO organization can't do anything, Bobkis, because they're getting nicht Geld from us anymore. So, I don't know, maybe the other departments in the United Nations could do something.
That is an exemplary explanation, Dr. Burnhaudt.
I'll look into it, Chaim. Okay, I said. In the meantime, I'm concerned that you've been reluctant to take your medications that help with your thinking. And please explain, Mr. Greenberg, why are you so worried that some store owners were trying to poison your customers?
Absolutely. I have been living in Amherst, Massachusetts for quite some time. I owned a quaint bookstore on Main Street for years until I noticed that fewer and fewer patrons were coming to browse and purchase books.
I'm sorry to hear this. Very sorry.
I took a lot of pride in owning that store, Dr. Burnhaudt.
I'm sure you did, Mr. Greenberg.
Anyway, I wound up further and further in debt. I couldn't sleep at night, and I developed a terrible case of constipation.
Constipation? The cup. Thinking now of my grandson, Aaron. I asked Mr. Greenberg. No, Mr. Greenberg, have you ever stayed in the bathroom for up to 3 hours? He looked at me in a puzzled way. He said, why are you asking such a question? I said, never mind. He said, told him, go on.
My store eventually went bankrupt. Then I went on unemployment and worked part-time here and there afterwards.
I was very sorry for all the pain and suffering he had gone through in trying to make his bookstore thrive. But I wondered how that related to his thinking that the owners were trying to poison him. As Mr. Greenberg spoke to me, I just happened to look down at the notes on my computer to get more information about this Meshugeneh guy.
During the last 6 months of my owning the bookstore, a medical urgent care center opened 2 stores down from me, and a pharmacy opened on the corner. I'd see lots of people coming and going into both stores each day. I thought that there was a medical conspiracy going on and that the owners of both the urgent care center and the pharmacy were collaborating to make more money by getting people sick.
He looked down at me, he said,
Dr. Burnhaudt, are you looking at porn?
What? I was shocked.
I see that you really have no regard for what I'm saying. Are you looking at porn?
What? I said, I told him I wasn't looking at porn, but I could see where he made sense that I was a bit distracted by looking at the computer notes. I asked him to continue, please.
After the urgent care and pharmacy opened, the only people who came into my store were former customers who just wanted to use my bathroom.
I told him that was very generous to allow that for these people.
I was. One week, I saw rusty water emanating from the bathroom sink pipes. I was convinced that the doctors were trying to poison my customers to make them go to their urgent care center, then to that pharmacy on the corner for prescribed medications.
No. So, you get this. He believed that the owners of the urgent care center wanted the people to get sick from his water, so they'd wind up at the urgent care center afterwards. Then they'd get prescribed medications at the corner pharmacy. He agreed with my conclusion, and he agreed and he thought I was brilliant. I told him I was humbled, but it's one thing for him to be upset by what happened at his bookstore, but there was another thing to have him go in and out of psychiatric hospitals all these times during the year just because he didn't stay on his medications.
How am I supposed to stay on my medications when my deductibles and copays keep going up each year, Dr. Burnhaudt?
Yes, I could understand this. In either case, I told him that I would do my best to advocate for him to pay as little as possible, but I couldn't guarantee anything knowing how health insurances are these days. He wished me good luck. Then I asked him if he'd be willing to retake the same medications to help clear his thoughts if I wrote him these prescriptions.
As long as you promise me that you'll pursue a legal investigation into this urgent care pharmacy conspiracy, and you'll keep me informed as to the status of the number of illegal aliens entering our country through the ozone layer.
Okay, I said I'd see what I could do. Then I shook his hand, and I said to myself, get out of here, get out of here. But I escorted him out the door. Suddenly, Nurse Samantha poked her head in to inform me that I'd be seeing Dr. Fisher next. She let me know that Dr. Fisher, listen to this, he attempted suicide that night before, Thursday night. While in his room, I froze in shock. How did he do this? Samantha said that somehow he got hold of a phone charging cord and wrapped it around his neck. Thank goodness. The attendant, Baruch Hashem, walked in at the 15-minute checkpoint and found him standing at his chair about to jump off. Now, Samantha didn't know that Dr. Fisher was the son of my close friend and colleague who practices internal medicine in Manhattan. Remember, I told you this when I was talking with my wife, that this morning that my Dr. Fisher and my son Daniel, they grew up like brothers. They went to the same schools, the public schools. They played stickball in the same schoolyard, baseball, b-ball, and they attended the same dances. They were the best of friends. Anyway, Samantha, she was very sorry that I had to see Dr. Fisher this way. I knew it was going to be painful. I asked Samantha, just give me some time to finish up this progress note on Mr. Greenberg before I see Dr. Fisher. And then she says to me that Dr. Fisher, Dr. Greenberg, Dr. Fisher's going to have to wait. I said, no, why? Well, apparently she received a call about a half hour ago from the receptionist for Corey Anderson, a hospital administrator. He wanted to see me before I saw anyone else. Corey's receptionist couldn't tell Samantha what the reason was for the urgent meeting, but it sounded very important. Samantha asked me if I'd like her to call up and let them know that I was available now before I saw Dr. Fisher. I said, yeah, sure, Kenya. That'd be great. After Samantha left, I thought, it's me. Maybe Samantha, my lovely wife, was right. This job was getting to me. Now I have to see my son's best friend after he attempted suicide last night. No. This wasn't going to be fun. You think life would have been easier for this young man? In the prime of his life? My God, his parents must be beside themselves. Now Corey, the administrator, was on his way to see me. Just what I need on a Friday morning before Shabbos tonight. What was Corey going to tell me that was so darn urgent, as if I didn't have enough concerns on my plate? Maybe this is it. Kaddish. Yiskadal, Shmir, the Jewish prayer for the dead by mourners. Who knows? I was just sick and tired of not knowing, not sleeping, being pissed off with my wife, with everything, all the time, and having this damn back pain. Then comes a knock on the door. Come in. Good morning, Corey. Have a seat. Setz. Corey sat down, and he asked me if he wondered why he had to see me so urgently. I said, yes, somewhat. Well, he says, that's when he gave me the bad news. He said that he just learned the past week that the hospital was going to be sold to, listen to this one, Mount Everest Healthcare Corporation. Mount Everest? I don't know of any other healthcare corporation that could be higher in this world than that one. Corey said that the worst part of the news was that they were probably going to close our hospital because psychiatric inpatient units just weren't making much money these days. Go tell that to these people who overdose, drink too much, or try to commit suicide, Corey. He saw my point. I was starting to boil. I was starting to schwitz. So, mental illness isn't a moneymaker, huh, Corey? Apparently not. I wondered what that meant for our staff. So from what Corey understood, Mount Everest was not going to transfer most of the staff to any other psychiatric facility. Great, I said. So how in hell did these employees in their 40s and 50s and 60s find full-time jobs? No. Corey hoped that Mount Everest would offer them outsourced placement services. Well, I sure they weren't going to do that. It cost too much money to care about the employees. So, does this mean huge layoffs for these people? Corey said, most likely, Chaim. As a matter of fact, he had already given notice to those hospital employees that worked as nurses and attendants, usually on weekends. Great. Hire temporary, less skilled help. And what about you, Corey? What about you? Well, he told me that he's been here almost 20 years. He said he wasn't sure, but he updated his LinkedIn page and had some bites. And Mount Everest may place him somewhere in their hospital system. Well, of course, you're in administration, Corey. And as for me, what? No? Corey said, in all likelihood, I'd probably be let go. He understood that they had enough psychiatrists and even cheaper psychiatric nurses to dispense medications. He asked me if I had considered totally retiring from psychiatry. After all, I was 67 years old. Retiring? I said. Retiring, huh? Do you mean that I'll be going to bed for the evening soon? Or that I'm about to drop dead right here in front of you? Corey thought that was funny, but no, he said, Chaim, I know what you mean. I know, letting go of my career. Do you know, I said to him, that I could sue your tuchas off for saying that to me, for a discriminatory statement. Well, Corey told me that he didn't mean it that way, and he was just thinking that, maybe it was time for me to consider other things. Like what, Corey? Driving for Uber? Working at a supermarket? Collecting carriages in the parking lot? No, he didn't mean. You didn't mean what, Corey? That I consider, isn't it enough, Corey, that insurance companies have screwed up psychiatrists big time over years by reimbursing only for prescribing medications at 10 minutes a pop per patient rather than reimbursing us for what we were trained professionally to do? Corey didn't know where this was going. Where this is going, Corey? I'll tell you where the hell we're going. It's about the world going straight to bloody hell. Who cares anymore about humans, Corey? Shop online anytime for retail, homes and travel packages. Read the news online. Then, God forbid you dare speak to a person anymore. No, it's talking to a voice-activated system and typing responses in chat boxes. Not even human beings. It's dehumanizing. Meshugeneh. Corey, you know where else this is going? Well, no one really has to be concerned about global warming anymore, Corey. You see, God, Hashem, is probably crying his eyes out because he's seeing how humans have turned our world into another fucking Sodom and Gomorrah. I'll predict that it's only a matter of time before God, Hashem, can't tolerate it anymore and chucks a big giant meteor at this world and obliterates it within seconds. Corey said, maybe it's time for you, Corey, to get weg. Go to hell. Get out of my office. Get kachanaf and yaman. Thanks for ruining my whole weekend. Good Shabbos. Get out. Corey was very sorry. I'm sure he was. I showed him out to my office. Then I went over to the nurse's station to calm down. I was schwitzing. I felt. And I was going over there to review Dr. Fisher's chart. Suddenly, a white-bearded patient comes over to talk to me. And he says, if I were you, I wouldn't look at those things right now. No? Oh, and why not? Because I'm about to climb to the top of Mount Sinai. It is forbidden for you to be so close to the mountainside. You must go quickly to where your tribesmen are camped until I come back after I talk to God. Look, Moshe, do you realize that I've been walking through the desert, following you with all the other Israelites, ever since we left Egypt? Now, you tell me that I have to stay away from the mountainside because you're going up to Mount Sinai to talk to God? You may be up there for quite a long time. I've got to be doing something down here to keep myself from getting bored down. While I wait for you to return, do you want me to build a golden calf or something? Moses scratched his beard. Besides, Moshe, Hashem, God may be giving you 2 tablets up there, but for God's sake, you haven't even taken the 2 tablets we have down here for you at the nurse's station. So please, before you go up Mount Sinai, please find Nurse Samantha, and she'll give you the 2 tablets you didn't take to ingest, just in case you break the 2 tablets God gives you up there. Moses agreed to do that. I then asked him, Moshe, he said, what? He said, no, are you going to stay at an Airbnb? Then simply camping outside with all the lightning and thunderstorms that's going to happen. Moses said that he didn't have access to his cell phone, then asked me if he could use mine to check Airbnb prices. Otherwise, he'd see if there were any discounts on Hotel.com. Moshe, I can't give you my cell phone. I can't. Plus, I really don't even think there are any vacancies up there this time of year. It's very, very it's a scarcity of hotels up there. Moses agreed. Then he left after I told him that I needed to review my next patient's chart. So, come with me. We're going to go back to my office here, over here. Come, at Zed's door again. And I'm going to wait for Nurse Samantha to bring Dr. Fisher. Here she comes. Come in. Good morning, Jake. Good morning. It's nice to see you again, although not really under these circumstances. Please, come in. Zed sits down. No, how's Mom and Dad? Jake said that they were fine. Then he asked about our son, Daniel. I said, "Oi, Daniel, you shouldn't hear from it. Oi, Daniel's having his challenges as well. They're concerned about him, as I'm sure your parents are about you." So Jake asked me to send Daniel his regards and regards to Mrs. Burnhaudt. I will, Jake. No. So I learned this morning that you tried to commit suicide last night. All I can say is, Baruch Hashem, we have vigilant attendance on our unit. What were you thinking that made you do such a thing? Jake saw no point in living anymore. He'd lost everything. His wife, his career, his vision of going into the medical field to care for patients. And now, he was up to his ears, his cup, in debt. Yes, I know about your debt. Your papa told me. But what's going on with your wife? Why do you think you lost her? Well, Jake said that they were having many arguments about the number of hours he was putting in the work. He was working his tuchs off and seeing as many patients as possible each day, and that's what the administration wanted him to do, almost double his patient load. Gunnish helfen. The medical field isn't what it used to be, Jake. No, it wasn't. And that's not taking into account Jake's need to write copious notes in the epic electronic health record for each patient. Who had time to complete them at work? He said that he'd walk through the door at home and he'd be a bear. Then his wife wanted him to help her care for the kinder, the children, but his energy was exhausted, depleted. I said, I know what that's like, Jake. I can never finish my notes here either. Jake said that I should hear all the doctors and nurses talking about what they're all going through, as if they were still slaves in Egypt. I could imagine. Jake kept asking his wife to give him some time alone to catch up on things. When he got home, he was tired. He needed space. He couldn't even get 5 minutes to relax. They'd have all these arguments, right in front of the kinderle, the children. Then he'd go drink a lot. Now, for a Jewish boy to drink, that's really bad, because most Jewish men and women, they don't drink. It affects the cup, the thinking. They usually go to other things. But anyway, for him, he went to alcohol. It was awful. Now, so now she's threatening divorce if he didn't change. Did I really think he could keep up with such demands? Could anyone these days? I said to him, Jake, you've got quite a challenge. To cope with it, you turn to alcohol. He said that he didn't want to get hooked on benzodiazepines or opiates. I said, look, Jake, alcohol is just as bad, it's fair, if not worse. You realize that the New York Medical Board is going to find out about your drinking heavily and is going to now require you to be on a behavioral contract. Otherwise, you're going to lose your license. Jake knew this, but at this point in his life, he had to make some tough choices about what mattered most to him. He really didn't want to lose his wife or his kinder. Yes, Jake, you're at a crossroads. You want to focus on your priorities in life. Jake agreed. That's why he turned to alcohol. He wanted to get discharged as soon as possible, knowing that he had to make some important decisions to reduce the stress and keep his marriage and family intact. Well, to do that, you need to refrain from drinking alcohol anymore and consider doing whatever it takes to prevent relapsing. He agreed to attend AA meetings daily here, then at home. And he said he'd even go on naltrexone to help with the cravings if I prescribed it for him. I did, and I did. I decided I would. I said, now, well, what about your suicidal thinking and the depression related to your stress at work and at home? And Jake informed me that he had been on Celexa 30 milligrams for quite some time, but he didn't think medication was the whole answer, and I agreed. He said that he and his wife needed couples therapy, and he needed to see an individual therapist to determine how to best manage his life choices. I said, wise decisions, Jake. Very wise decisions. Very wise. Very wise. And I said, I'll write you a prescription for naltrexone, and you remain on Celexa for now. Let's see how you do this coming week in attending AA meetings here. And I don't want to discharge you prematurely, especially after your suicide attempt yesterday. But the weekends, they can get Meshugeneh around here. Nothing happens. Plus, I just got word from the administration that they're about to lay off their most experienced staff. This is a conflict for me to think about this. But it's not easy, but I'm sure you'd prefer to be with your wife and your kindler. I think you better stay here. Jake agreed. And he was sure his wife wouldn't step 1 foot in this unit after she learned what he did, the shame, and all the neighbors here. He thanked me anyway for understanding my situation, or his situation. I said, Jake, I know exactly what you're going through. Being a physician myself. So Jake got up, and I went to shake his hand. And he asked me to send his best to Daniel, then I'd speak to him, and to Mrs. Burnhaudt. I said, I will, Jake. I will.